Hey, everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive on Past Pan podcasts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel. Today, we're diving into a pretty grim New Year's Day in New Orleans.
Yeah.
A city, known for its joyous celebrations and all that.
Yeah, vibrant and alive.
Exactly. But 2025 dawned with a really horrific act of terrorism.
Right.
That just shattered the festive spirit on Bourbon Street.
Absolutely.
Now, you might already know the headlines from this.
Yeah, a lot of people probably heard about this one.
But we're going way beyond the surface today to uncover some of the unsettling details.
Yeah, the details that maybe you haven't heard.
Yeah, and the chilling implications of this attack.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's so fascinating and tragic about this is the contrast,
Yeah.
You have New Year's Eve revelry and then the sudden eruption of violence.
Yeah, that juxtaposition is just...
Imagine Bourbon Street, pulsating with life, music, laughter.
Right.
And then without warning, chaos just descends.
Yeah, and the eyewitness accounts are really harrowing.
Oh, absolutely.
People describe, a pickup truck deliberately plowing through the crowds.
Just horrific.
The piercing screams, the frantic scramble for safety.
It's just, it's hard to even fathom the terror that unfolded in those moments.
Yeah, just unimaginable.
The human cost is really staggering as well. 14 lives lost.
Yeah.
Over 35 injured. And, these aren't just statistics. These are individuals, families,
Right.
An entire community that is scarred by this senseless act.
Absolutely. And the perpetrator, Shamsud-Din Jabbar, a 42-year-old U.S. Army veteran from Texas, adds another layer of complexity to this whole thing.
Yeah, it's,
a veteran committing such an act
right.
seems almost paradoxical.
It does challenge our assumptions, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
But as investigators delved into Jabbar's past, a disturbing pattern emerged.
Okay.
There were these chilling pre-attack videos expressing his intent to kill.
Wow.
And a really twisted inspiration he drew from ISIS propaganda.
So this is a very clear case of radicalization.
That seems to be.
Potentially.
Yeah, and it's a sobering reminder that radicalization can affect anyone.
Right.
Even those who have served their country.
Exactly. So we have a seemingly radicalized veteran who deliberately drove a truck into a crowd on New Year's Day.
Right.
And as if this wasn't horrific enough, the police discovered undetonated bombs in his truck during the shootout that ended his life.
Yeah, that's where the details get really unsettling.
Yeah.
The bombs were homemade.
Oh, wow.
Constructed with nails and a rare explosive compound.
Interesting.
The compound itself is a type of organic peroxide that's rarely used.
Okay.
So that suggests a very specific and dangerous knowledge base.
Right.
However, the crude construction of the bombs themselves indicates a lack of professional training.
So like a self-taught.
Potentially, yeah.
Right.
We might be looking at someone who was self-taught, radicalized online,
Right.
but with access to very dangerous information.
Right. And adding to the chilling evidence, investigators found an ISIS flag in the truck.
Right.
It paints a pretty clear picture of a premeditated, ideologically driven attack.
It does seem that way. Yeah.
The meticulous planning is really evident in Jabbar's notes and the detailed map of Bourbon Street that they found in the truck.
Wow.
This wasn't a spontaneous act.
No.
This was a carefully orchestrated assault designed to inflict maximum damage.
And then there's the discovery of Jabbar's storage unit in Texas.
Right.
It contains sulfuric acid and bomb-making materials.
Yeah. The makings of a much larger scale attack, potentially.
Right. And it makes you wonder what his ultimate goal was.
Yeah.
And if this New Orleans attack was just the beginning.
That's a chilling thought.
Yeah. And here's another connection that's difficult to ignore.
Okay.
On the same New Year's Day, there was a similar attack in Las Vegas carried out by Matthew Livelsberger.
Another attack on the same day.
Yeah, another attack on the same day.
And the parallels are really disturbing.
Okay.
Both Jabbar and Livelsberger were Army veterans who served at Fort Liberty.
Interesting.
They both used rental vehicles from the same car-sharing service, while there's no concrete evidence of, direct coordination. Right.
The similarities raise some serious questions about potential vulnerabilities within veteran communities.
Right.
And whether extremist groups are actively targeting them.
So this is potentially a much wider problem than just a one-off.
Potentially.
Yeah, that raises a whole new set of concerns.
It does.
Are we overlooking specific vulnerabilities within these communities?
Yeah.
What kind of support systems are in place for veterans who might be susceptible to radicalization?
Those are questions that demand a much deeper investigation.
Yeah. And this case, with its layers of complexity and the lack of definitive answers, inevitably gave rise to a whirlwind of conspiracy theories.
Of course it did.
Ah, yes, the conspiracy theories.
They always appear, don't they?
They always seem to appear in the wake of events like this.
Yeah. It's like clockwork.
It's almost like clockwork, right?
Yeah, and in this case, they range from claims of a government cover-up
Okay.
to speculations about a second target and a much larger plot.
Wow.
It's a tangled web of speculation and misinformation.
It is. I think it's time we try to untangle this web a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
We need to separate fact from fiction.
Yeah.
Understand why these theories gain traction.
Uh-huh.
And perhaps even identify the potential dangers they pose.
Yeah. I think we need to equip our listener with the critical thinking skills to navigate this landscape.
Yeah.
Because, this isn't just about one tragic event. This
Right.
is about understanding how information and misinformation shapes our perception of the world.
Absolutely.
Like, how do we know what we know?
Yeah.
And how do we sift through the noise to find the truth?
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's what we're going to be doing for the rest of this deep dive. So stick around.
Let's do it.
Okay.
So let's delve into some of the most prominent conspiracy theories surrounding this New Orleans attack.
All right, let's unpack this Pandora's box.
Okay, so one of the most persistent and frankly harmful ones is that Jabbar was an illegal immigrant.
Yeah, that one spread like wildfire online, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Despite being debunked, pretty quickly by officials who confirmed his U.S. citizenship.
It did, and unfortunately, it really tapped into some existing anxieties and fueled anti-immigration sentiment, even though it had no basis in reality.
Yeah, it's a prime example of how misinformation can exploit a tragedy to advance a specific agenda.
Exactly. And then there were all the rumors of a coordinated terror cell fueled by that grainy surveillance footage of individuals near the attack site.
Oh, yeah, those images were everywhere.
Right?
Everybody was trying to decipher who these people were and if they were involved.
It created this climate of fear and suspicion.
Mhm.
And while the FBI eventually cleared those individuals, the damage was done.
Right.
Seeds of doubt had been sown.
Yeah, for sure.
And some people clung to the idea of a larger conspiracy at play.
Some theories also targeted the government itself, questioning how such an attack could even happen on their watch.
Right, the classic government cover-up theory.
That classic.
It always comes up.
That always comes up, right?
Some people argued that authorities must have known about Jabbar's plans but failed to act,
Right.
essentially accusing them of complicity.
It's like they think the government just let it happen.
Right. And, Jabbar's meticulous notes and that stockpile of bomb-making materials in his storage unit,
Yeah,
it lends itself to that kind of speculation.
it does.
But, suspicion doesn't equate to evidence.
Right.
There's a difference between raising legitimate questions about security failures and jumping to conclusions about some vast government conspiracy.
Yeah, we need to be cautious about accepting everything we see online as fact,
Absolutely.
especially when we're dealing with sensitive events like this.
Then there's the whole issue of the ISIS flag found in Jabbar's truck.
Yeah, that was a big one.
For some people, it was undeniable proof of his allegiance,
Right.
while others saw it as a red flag, literally.
The false flag theory,
Exactly.
suggesting the attack was staged to justify something else,
Right.
like increased surveillance or military action.
That's another familiar trope in these conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
And while it's been debunked in this case, the fact that it gained any traction at all speaks volumes about the power of distrust
Right.
and our tendency to see patterns even where they don't exist.
It's like we're hardwired to look for those connections,
It seems like it sometimes.
even when they're not really there.
Right. And of course, we can't forget the mystery surrounding Jabbar's notes, which hinted at a possible second target.
Oh, yeah, the whispers of a hidden objective.
The authorities haven't released all the specifics, but that hasn't stopped speculation.
Of course not.
Some believe the government is withholding information to avoid panic, while others are convinced it's all part of some larger, more sinister plan.
It's like a choose-your-own-adventure conspiracy theory.
Exactly, and that's the problem with these theories.
Yeah.
While they're often framed as this search for truth, they can really distract from legitimate investigations
Right.
and hinder our understanding of what actually happened.
They can also have real-world consequences.
Oh, absolutely.
Amplifying extremist ideologies, sowing societal division, and even inspiring further violence.
It's a dangerous game to play.
So where does that leave us?
Well, we have a horrific attack, a complex web of investigations, and this whirlwind of conspiracy theories obscuring the truth.
It's a lot to process. What are the key takeaways here? What are we supposed to make of it all?
Well, for starters, it underscores the very real threat of terrorism and the alarming speed at which misinformation can spread, often with devastating consequences.
It also highlights the importance of critical thinking.
Yes.
questioning our assumptions, being wary of information that simply confirms our biases.
We need to be discerning consumers of information, especially in the age of social media where anyone can publish anything, and algorithms often prioritize engagement over accuracy.
So, beyond the immediate horror of the attack, New Orleans had to grapple with the aftermath both physically and emotionally.
Absolutely. The city implemented heightened security measures, particularly for large events like Mardi Gras.
Yeah, makes sense.
There's an increased police presence, enhanced surveillance, and a renewed focus on emergency protocols.
Understandably, a lot of people were on edge, wondering if and when something like this could happen again.
Of course, trauma like this doesn't just disappear overnight.
And amidst all of this, it's crucial to remember the human cost.
Absolutely.
The 14 families shattered by loss. The 35 individuals bearing the physical and emotional scars of that day.
Their stories are a powerful testament to the very real human impact of terrorism, an impact that extends far beyond the headlines and the political debates.
One story that particularly resonated with me is that of a survivor who, despite suffering life-altering injuries, remained determined to rebuild their life.
That's the kind of resilience that speaks to the strength of the human spirit.
It reminds us that even in the face of unimaginable tragedy, there is always hope. Yeah, it's that resilience, that refusal to be defeated that really shines a light in the darkness.
It speaks to the power of community too, right? Coming together to support one another in the face of tragedy.
You're absolutely right, and I think it also speaks to the spirit of New Orleans itself, a city that has faced its share of hardship, from Hurricane Katrina to this horrific attack,
Right.
yet always manages to find a way to rebuild and celebrate life.
It's a city that's known for its vibrant culture, its music, its joy, and you really see that spirit, and how they respond to this tragedy with this blend of grief and determination.
Yeah, it's really incredible. So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from the horrifying details of the attack itself to the unsettling implications of the perpetrator's background,
Right.
and then into the murky world of conspiracy theories.
It's a lot to unpack.
It is.
And it leaves us grappling with these really complex questions about terrorism,
Right.
about security, about
Yeah.
the role of misinformation in our society.
While we may not have all the answers, I think it's crucial to keep asking these questions,
I agree.
to keep digging deeper, to challenge our own assumptions and biases.
Because only by truly understanding the complexities of these issues can we hope to find solutions and prevent future tragedies.
And that brings us back to you, our listener. You're the one who ultimately shapes the narrative, who separates fact from fiction, who holds those in power accountable.
So we leave you with this. What steps can individuals and communities take to combat both terrorism and the spread of harmful conspiracy theories?
It's a question worth pondering, and we encourage you to share your thoughts and ideas in the comments. This conversation needs to continue long after the headlines fade.
Because the fight against extremism and misinformation is an ongoing one.
It is. We've reached the end of our deep dive, and we hope it's given you some food for thought. Perhaps even spark some conversations that need to be had.
As always, we appreciate you joining us.
And before you go, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Past Command Podcasts. It really helps the channel.
Stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.
Until next time.